HTC fans haven't had the best time of things lately, but that actually might change very soon. It's all thanks to the new HTC 10, the company's new 2016 flagship smartphone, and after having used one for about a week, I'm pleased to report that while not exactly perfect, it's closer than the company has come in a really long time. First off, we've got to talk about design, and the 10 doesn't really feel anything like the One A9 we got towards the end of last year. It's a little more angular, a little more gem-like. There's a chamfer running around the 5.2-inch Quad HD display, and a bigger angular one cut out around the edge of the back. So there's a very specific feel when you hold the thing, and it's actually very, very comfortable. The understated looks might not be for everybody, but make no mistake, this is HTC build quality at its best. The entirely aluminum body feels incredibly sturdy and well pieced together. Everything feels very deliberate and artful. And this is very much what HTC does. They make beautiful phones, and they haven't lost that, thankfully. Speaking of beautiful, the 5.2-inch Quad HD Super LCD 5 screen, and man is that a mouthful, is really easy on the eyes too. Everything's really crisp and very bright, and slightly oversaturated by default, although you can jump into the settings and switch to the sRGB color gamut for more neutral colors. Personally, I really like the colors the way they are right out of the box, although if you look at the screen from an angle, you get kind of a red hue, which can be annoying if you're looking at someone else's HTC 10 all the time. It'd be sort of lousy if you got a good screen and not some good sound to go with it, and thankfully this is something HTC has always been kind of crazy about. Unfortunately, I think the days of dual front-facing speakers might be over for HTC, so they've cooked up a system they call Boom Sound Hi-Fi to kind of replace it. For the most part, it does a pretty good job. Sound is loud and crisp, and you get high frequencies routed through the top of the phone and low frequencies through the bottom, so there's a pretty even soundstage going on. Unfortunately, it does lack the impact that you got out of those stereo speakers, and I don't think we're going to see that again. Now, not everyone's going to notice that change, but what you will notice is what happens if you plug in a pair of headphones and use the personal audio profile test. HTC makes you listen to a bunch of tones and basically calibrates the audio into your headphones based on your own preferences and your hearing levels. Some of you just want to know how fast this thing is, and the answer, in short, is very. We've got a couple factors to thank for that. Obviously, there is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 820 paired with 4GB of RAM. We've seen that configuration before, but it does fly here. We also have a really light touch with software to look at. HTC has been doing a really good job trimming down its software stack on top of Android, and the experience now feels very, very close to stock, which is something I never thought I would say. The usual touches like blink feed are still here, and I never really use it, but it's nice to have. More importantly, we're seeing HTC look at some of its own apps and say, you know what, the Google apps are better, let's just kill ours. So we're starting to see preload and bloatware kind of disappear too. HTC has also done work to remove the amount of latency between the time your finger touches the screen and the amount of time your phone takes to do something, to act upon that input. So the end result of all these factors put together is an incredibly fast, incredibly fluid smartphone. If you've been following HTC, you know it's a little tricky for them to get a handle on cameras, but this time, thankfully, the 12 ultra pixel camera on the back of the HTC 10 is a real contender. In this case, ultra pixel just means the pixels on the sensor itself are bigger, which we've seen a lot of smartphone makers do already. Long story short, photos you're going to take with that camera are generally going to be excellent. Maybe not quite as crisp and detailed as you see on, say, a Galaxy S7, but still very, very good, and I think near the top of its class for an Android smartphone. That's especially the case if you're looking at the Pro mode, which gives you full manual control and outputs photos as RAWs, which, by the way, go right into Google Photos now. The 10 isn't quite as good as the Galaxy S7 in low light, though. You'll see focus start to struggle a little bit, and the photos lose a little bit of their clarity. Either way, in most situations, the 10 is a really capable smartphone camera, especially when it comes to selfies. You've got a 5-megapixel camera up there with optical image stabilization, so you're going to get some really crisp shots of your face. The battery, however, can be a bit of a mixed bag. It's great for standby time. I've been able to not charge this thing for about a day and a half to 2 full days without having to worry about it, but if you're a very heavy user, especially with regard to video or games, you'll see that drop dramatically. In our video rundown test, the HTC 10 stuck around for just about 10.5 hours, which is very slightly better than the LG G5, but not quite as good as the S7 siblings. Here's the thing. In a lot of ways, the 10 is the smartphone I've wanted HTC to make for years. It's powerful, the software is relatively clean, and it's impeccably well designed and built. They're finally starting to get it. What's less clear is if this stuff appeals to the people HTC needs it to appeal to. The everyman, the person who just needs a new phone and will buy one of these over a Galaxy S7. That's a question that can only be answered with time, but I'll leave you with this. If you're on the market for a new powerful flagship smartphone, you'd be wrong to not consider the HTC 10.